Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks, Reese, for inviting us. Great event. Thanks, Shopkeep. Great pizza, great beer, great space. Good to be here. I'm Larry, that's Sean. And today we're going to talk about the I.O. of DevOps. And just a little overview of what we're going to go through. It'll be about half an hour, 35 minutes. We timed it out. We practiced a little bit, actually. And we're going to talk about how to DevOps your data. Now, of course, nobody DevOps their data, but it's the idea of removing information silos from your data, from your organization, and putting it into a DevOps process. And that's what we mean by that. And it's all about where the data is and how you use the data. Then we're going to demo our open source tool. So it's a free tool. We'd love people to contribute to it. We'd love people to use it for free. And then some final thoughts on where do we go from here in the presentation. So welcome. I'll do a bit of an introduction. Our company, xOps, we're new. We started last year. We're getting good traction. We're a consulting company. We help companies run their technology more efficiently and effectively. We build open source monitoring and management tools and offer a suite of related services to help your businesses. I'm Larry Gordon. I'm a co-founder. I'm ex-Cognizant, ex-Capgemini. So I've worked with a lot of clients in the, as a consultant in the consulting business. And I'll let Sean talk about himself a little bit. He's the CEO. He's our boss.
You wouldn't guess it. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, Sean Mack, just quick background. I've been running operations teams, managing operations groups for longer than I care to admit. I've implemented and run DevOps teams in a variety of companies, implementing everything from large financial institutions like Experian to innovative tech companies like Etsy. I have always been really passionate about the DevOps community, and it's awesome to see stuff like what Reese is doing here. It's awesome to see everybody showing up. You know, you get so much excitement in these events. It's great to be here and have the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the tools we're building and what we're seeing.
Thanks, Sean. And I'll bet, as being an operator, outages were a big problem. I'll bet you were up some nights. I'll bet, little show of hand.
You think.
How many people here, either you or your teams, were up all night on incident calls with outages? Yeah, it hurts. I know. I know. And, it's what I saw in my previous jobs. It's what Sean saw. It's what our clients told us they wanted to stop. That's what we wanted to stop. So we had a lot of firsthand knowledge, but, we're going out, we're starting a company, maybe we ought to see what some other people think too. So we did some research. We actually teamed up with CA on this to see what was happening in the rest of the world, in the country. And our research told us that 26 billion of revenue is lost each year from downtime, IT downtime. The majority of it, the 78%, relate to reduced worker productivity. So it's the cost of the engineers, the cost of the people in this room. And 12% of it is missed sales opportunities. And particularly nowadays, software applications are revenue-producing products, and anytime they're down, it costs the owners of the company money. So very, very expensive problem to solve, and we thought it would be good to build some tools and build some services around solving that problem. So I need to do one more poll, though, because we're going to talk a little bit about monitoring tools and data presentation and correlation tools. How many people in the room, show of hands, please, have just one monitoring tool? One monitoring tool, 1.5 guys, we'll call it. How many have 2 to 10 monitoring tools? More hands, yeah, that's a third of the room. And how many have more than 10? 2 to 10, yeah, that's the sweet spot. So the other research we did was, right in here, there's a proliferation of monitoring tools because of massive data growth. I think some people here in the IoT business, a lot of people are dealing with big data streams from data warehouses, et cetera, from lots of infrastructure and servers. So there's a monitoring tool proliferation, and each time you add a monitoring tool, you have an information silo. So one big problem we really wanted to solve was this problem of information overload from an excess of monitoring tools.
Thanks, Larry.
Sure.
So, In DevOps, we do a lot of focus on the deployment pipeline. We talk a lot about how to ensure it all gets out there, doing your CI/CD, doing your automated test builds, making sure that there isn't a problem. But the fact is that especially in larger environments, we're dealing with legacy code bases. We're dealing with problematic systems that don't have these elegant deployment pipelines that never have problems. And even when you are dealing with these great systems, you're still going to have problems, right? So when that happens, you've got to have the right tools in place to manage this. And it seems like there is a huge number of tools. And don't get me wrong, I love the different tools, but there's a new one popping up every day. And you get to a certain point of diminishing returns where you've actually got too many tools to actually handle your data. You know, the other thing that I've noticed a lot in DevOps is we're talking about the organizational silos and about the dev organization versus the ops organization. What we don't talk a lot about is the informational silos, and those can be just as deadly to your time to repair when you've got a critical incident and there's information that you actually can't get to, right? And a lot of that discussion is around dev and ops. And certainly you see those information silos there where the ops team has insight to certain information, the dev team is maybe focusing on your APM solution. But it's actually more pronounced from what I've seen in terms of other groups, like the business group and the tech group, right? So the business group may be the only one who can see information about revenue, about pending sales, about lost sales. While the tech groups are the only ones who can see information about database performance, about your cloud service performance, or about your deployment pipeline, right? So there's some real gaps in that information. But I also see this among the technical teams, and this is almost more painful, where you've got your database team, and they're the only group that can see how your databases are performing, or your network team are the only ones who see how the network's performing. And when you can find ways to share this data, it becomes a really powerful driver for reducing time to resolve when you've got a major incident. And we can even do some neater stuff once we get all this data together, which we'll talk about in terms of using machine learning to then predict and fix problems before they actually impact your customers. Go. Oh, new tools are failing me. I may have to actually click them out.
You may have to use your finger, Sean.
Yeah. The low-tech version here. No? Aye. Let's try that one. All right, so.
Is that you? A long time ago?
Yeah. This was me after I heard about the following outage we had. So, a good example of how these information silos impact our companies. I was working with a company. We had a outage impacting 50% of revenue for one of our systems that lasted 48 hours, right? And you go, how the heck can this happen, right? And how can our monitoring systems not do this? And it wasn't that they didn't have monitoring systems, right? They had all this data coming in, right? But they weren't talking to each other. So the sales team who looks at the revenue stream was only looking at it weekly. It was peak period, so a lot of things coming in. Maybe they were looking at it every 2 days, but they weren't looking at it every 5 minutes, right? So they didn't see this 50% drop. The systems team who was looking at their data did get an error, right? They did get a message, but they assumed it was a redundant system. Not an unfair assumption, right? But the system was actually designed so that orders were segregated between the two systems. So when one of two went down, we were actually missing 50% of our revenue. And the customer service team, well, what they saw was a huge uptick in complaints. Right? I can't purchase such and such, right? But A, they assumed it was because it was peak season. And B, they were so busy fielding customer complaints, they never related it back to the tech teams. That has huge impact on companies. So we need to look at some steps to solve it, and that's what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes, and then we'll jump into a demo of the tool that we use to, that we built, open source tool, one of the options of a way to solve these issues. So a couple of the things you're going to look at, I like to look at in trying to resolve this problem. One is looking at your data sources and deduplicating this. You know, and I'll get into each of these. The other is centralizing key data, and then the final is up-leveling your data so it can actually drive decisions. And hopefully you'll listen to this and you can take some useful things back to your organization to make yourselves more efficient in managing data. So determine data sources and reduce and deduplicate. So I'm not advocating, and I won't, using a single tool for everything. In fact, I think that's a really bad idea. There's some great tools that solve specific problems, right? What I am saying is you've got to make sure you don't have multiple tools solving exactly the same or 90% the same solution. So a different company we saw, they had 5-ish tools just for monitoring CPU, right? And we can have, you know, these great religious debates over whether Nagios is better than Zabbix is better than Xenos, right? But ultimately, I'll tell you one thing. Having all of them is not better than anything, right? So you've really got to look at where you've got great point solutions and use those in all cases, right? But you want to be careful and deduplicate as much as possible, not only because it makes getting all your data and managing all that data together a little easier, but also because it makes managing your operations that much easier. If you need your operators to hop from one tool to another, from one system to another, and not go, well, I only manage this group of systems. I only manage these apps because these are managed by another tool. So the other thing, once you've kind of decided on that tool set, one of the larger places we looked at this, we had started with over 50 tools. 50 tools, right? How can you manage anything when you've got 50 different tools just for monitoring your application? Now, big company, they had over 3,000 applications, so they had to do a little reduction there probably too, but that's a different story. So once you've got down, and we then got this company down to about 12 key tools, right, which they implemented across the entire enterprise. So down from 50 to 12, pretty major accomplishment. You want to consolidate all your data. Now that's easier said than done, right? And this also goes back to tool selection. You want to make sure you're choosing tools that actually allow you to centralize your data, because some tools, some vendors will obfuscate the data intentionally so that you're stuck with that tool, so you can't collaborate, and I think that's a very anti-pattern for DevOps organizations. And then, so look at the tools that are out there that you're using to monitor your systems, right? And then look at all the tools that are out there to aggregate your data, because there's some really great ones. And then, and I'll give you some tips on choosing those later on as well. And then evaluate and select your appropriate aggregation tool. All right, so you've got that. I do want to say that, you know, while I'm a big advocate of transparency, and I generally try and say, hey, as much as we can share data with everyone, the better, there are realities where that may not be the case. So when you do get data in a centralized data store, you have to make sure that it allows for individual access control, right? Certain regulations may preclude, you know, the entire company for seeing revenue data real time, right? That would actually be a violation of some SEC regulations, I'm pretty sure. You know, so, and additionally, I've also seen in larger organizations where some data can be really alarming, right? I don't actually want to advertise to certain business users every time a server goes down, because it's fine, it's a non-event, right? But if it's flashing up on a business dashboard, they're going to be in a panic state constantly. So you have to make sure that whatever the aggregation tool is that you're using allows the segregated data to get the right data to the right people, and make sure that you're addressing that in an appropriate manner. Finally, up-level your data. So look for ways, because I just said, hey, put all your data in one huge bucket, right? So now you've got a big bucket of data. Well, that sucks, right? Like, we actually need to make some sense of this. We actually need to have some intelligence, right? There's several ways to do this. Certainly, if you're working in data centers, you've got some, or a mapped out service map. You can actually use that to inform your data, tag your data, and actually relate it to where the problem is, right? So you're beginning to say, hey, if this component is down, it may affect all of these other components, right? Get that relations going, and then you can relate that to the data coming in from all these data sources. You've now made this mass of data into something much more intelligent, much more actionable. You also want to understand the components of overall health, and this may mean different things to different users, right? And so you need a system that's adaptable that will let you define that, right? What does health of a system mean to a business user versus what does the health of the same system mean to a tech user, right? Finally, what I'd say, and the kind of ultimate step here is once you've got all this data to start leveraging machine learning to look at your trends, relate that to information about when problems are occurring, to start to be able to predict when incidents are occurring and cut them off before they actually happen, right? So that's the end goal, and if you can get there, you can provide a much better experience, not just resolve issues quicker by cutting down silos, but actually prevent incidents from occurring before they impact your users. So a couple things, I just threw a lot of high-level ideas out there about how to improve and cut down on information silos. One of them is, choose a data aggregation platform. There are some gotchas here, right? You want to stay away from point solutions. So, someone says, hey, I have this great solution, but it only works on Windows. I say, hey, can we find something that works on Windows and Linux if you're in a mixed environment, right? That does the same thing for both these systems. Try not to get too tied in to a solution that only does a little piece of the pie. And that's going to depend on the size of your organization, right? What's right for you, what the right combo is. Avoid vendor lock-in. I've seen a lot of this, especially when you're choosing data aggregation tools. They say, hey, use our tool. Okay, great, I can put all this in. Yes, but you've also got to use our APM tool, right? You've also got to use our CMDB, right? It can be really limiting, and there's so many great tools out there. I'm not going to choose something that's going to force me to use a whole nother tool set. Ensure whatever tools you're using, you have access to your data. A lot of tools, as I said, obfuscate data, whether intentionally or just because they're not thinking about it. Make sure you have access to APIs so you can do automation, introspection of your data. Finally, I'd say, all this is for naught if you don't build a culture of collaboration, right? Like, tools don't make you DevOps, right? You can't say, hey, I got the best DevOps tool. No. For me, at least, DevOps is much more about a culture of collaboration, right? I've seen some great collaboration tools used in really siloed ways, right? I mean, chat, you've got to say, is one of the most, it's built to help people collaborate, right? One organization where they had, Skype for one group and HipChat for another. It's like they're actually building in siloed collaboration with a collaboration tool, right? So make sure you start with a culture of collaboration, because if you're not starting there, it doesn't matter what tools you use. And with that, one more thing I'll just say quickly is there's a lot of tools out there to do that, right? To do this, and this isn't a new problem, right? This is a problem. But there are challenges, and I actually, when I was VP of Operations for Pearson, we did this extensive vendor survey, and I talked for about 6 months to every vendor under the sun, and what I found was there were, on the one hand, very large vendors who wanted to come and install massive footprints in like every data center, right? And we were going to have to hire, pay millions for a team just to maintain them, right? And then there were a lot of newer vendors who were missing key parts of the solution, right? Because of that, we actually went ahead and built an open source tool. Now, that's not to denigrate a lot of these tools. I actually really like them. I specifically, I really like Splunk. I like Mooksoft, I like Datadog. They're doing some really cool stuff in the space. But when I did that analysis, we really found some key gaps. So that's why we built XView, and Larry's gonna tell you a little bit about that while I drive through the demo.
Sure. Sean, are you going to show us the architecture a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Why
Great.
don't you just
Thanks. So our flagship product XView resolves the problem of the overload of monitoring tools by providing an integrated view across all of your data to provide a single picture to you, to your engineers of an application or service health. It's not a monitoring tool. It's a correlation and presentation engine. It's open source. I think Sean's going to talk a little bit about the architecture and show us a demo as well. And I'll talk over his presentation.
Sure. So just to give you an idea about the architecture we've built here, I'm not going to get into too much detail because I don't know too much detail, but I will tell you some of the basic components we've built this from. The idea is basically collect data from any data source. So we've built different collectors. We've already done integrations with some key vendors, but you can obviously extend this to any data source. We've actually, we built that. We've got a Kubernetes scheduler, which deploys Docker containers for those collectors and spins those up per organization that's using this. We're based around open source technologies, right? So this is all built on the Elk stack, the Elastic stack, using several other technologies in conjunction. We're piping all that data into Elasticsearch cluster. For log data, we're using a Redis queue and an event listener. We're also using MongoDB to store information about users, configuration information, and that will actually drive the Kubernetes scheduler, depending on what data integration you have. And then on the front end, we're integrating with Kibana for some of our dashboarding, but we built a whole front end in Angular, using a Node API to interface with a lot of the data. So that's a quick overview of how this thing's built. I'll jump into the demo here.
So Sean's going to go through the registration process for us. They tell me it's easy. It's easy to sign up for a new account. We'll see how Sean gets through it. So the correlation available in the tool, the correlation engine, allows you to get a holistic picture of your service health, quickly fix issues when they do occur, identify issues to resolve before they impact your users. So it gives you the ability to provide some predictive analysis. It's designed for mid-size organizations and smaller. So it's multi-tenant, multiple concurrent users. You could set it up as a new organization, or you can use the existing organization. And I think Sean's using an existing organization. Could be us.
I'll actually, for this example, I'll create a brand new organization. But it's a great point, Larry, because the whole point of this tool is to work together, right? So if you want to join an existing organization, you just need that organization ID, and then the admin will approve your access and grant you the appropriate permissions.
Great. So now you have to configure the data sources. And we already have a large selection of data sources integrated, including bidirectional integration with platforms like ServiceNow. Other data sources can be integrated on the back end, and we're working with our community. We have a very active DevOps community, and we don't just do monitoring and correlation tools. We do the full stack of DevOps work, CI/CD, through testing, through management consulting. But then the community works on it all, but they are building out other integrations, and we're in discussions with other partners to create easy integrations with them. So if any of you folks are with tool vendors and you'd like to work with us on integrating it, let us know, because that's the people we want to partner with. Or if you're at an enterprise and there's tools you're using and you want us to integrate with them, let us know, and we'll do that as well. And the community gets to work on that.
So Larry, I've just logged on to our account. That was the registration process. I've logged on to our account because I don't want to take the time to set up all the different data sources. But this is actually the exemplar that we're using to monitor our own systems.
So you're going to make the argument with this tool that there's no more siloed data overall. And we have three graphs here. The first graph is this world map graph, and it can tell us how your business is performing for users around the world. We chose a map in this case. Sean likes the map. And the second, the three round circles, is item health for key services. The whole health equation presents this. Each circle represents how key services are performing. So, Sean, tell us how you calculate application health. And be really brief about it.
Right. I could take another hour to talk about calculating application health. We've done a lot of work here. I'll try and keep it brief. But basically, we identify key metrics. You do an analysis of those metrics, set certain thresholds, and then each of those becomes a performance indicator. And then you can determine the health of an overall system by selecting several different performance indicators and say the overall health is, and weighting them, right? So if you're talking about, and this makes it very flexible, so you can talk about anything from, hey, what's the health of a server, right? That question alone is kind of interesting. But what's the health of an application, right, is even tougher, right? What's the health of the overall service? So we built a flexible framework to allow you to define that for your organization and your users.
And the bottom graph there, it's kind of an extreme bell curve. That's trends on key metrics. That could be for revenue. It could be for 400 hours. It's your choice. Put whatever, as many data points in there as you want.
And we've got that set up for errors, but for a business user, you can certainly do it on calculator or something.
All right. So it's one place for all your tech teams. Could be the database team, the application team, the DevOps team, the infrastructure team. One place for all the tech teams to see their data. It breaks down that it's not my problem. I don't have that data. That's not my data. It's the other guy's data. That's the problem. Search across all the data to determine trends, and it allows you to do some deeper analysis, some root cause analysis, to find the underlying cause of your incident. So it's one place where everybody can be talking about the same data. So this is your alerts panel that you built, Sean, I think. Yeah. So DevOps is about collaboration. Actually allows us to collaborate. You manage the alerts from any system all in one place. Bidirectional integration with a ticketing system. He probably has ServiceNow up there as the data source for this. You can assign alerts, you can investigate alerts, create incidents, and coming soon, group alerts by potential root cause. That's what we have a small team in Sri Lanka. They're working on that.
See if I can assign it to you.
See if you can.
I would be in real trouble. The cool thing about this is we also looked at the alert management workflow. You can pipe in alerts from many different systems, whether it be, your cloud health service, whether it be your real user monitoring, manage them all in one place with one team. And we built in a workflow here where you can actually assess it. Once you've determined it's an actual alert, you can create an incident that will then work with whatever your ticketing system is to create an incident. You can manage it there, and you'll get bi-directional communication for those systems. All right. Did I miss anything here, Larry?
I think you got it all, Sean. I think you could go back to the PowerPoint. Where do we go from here?
Oh, first I find my microphone. I think my voice is loud enough, but so excuse me. So there's a lot of things we talked about. I hope that this has resonated with some of you, and you have some takeaways for what you're going to do to improve collaboration among your teams. Look to identify and reduce duplicate data. Reduce single point solutions, or just don't buy them where possible. And then, as you go forward, determine a option for a correlation and presentation engine.
Great, thanks. And our final ask, we're asking for something tonight. Help us build the next generation of open source monitoring tools. Join our community at Facebook. People share information there, share stories, share experiences. That's our facebook.com xOps Army community. And contribute at GitHub. The address is up there. You can find it on all our websites, et cetera. And help us build the open source tools. So we ask you to partner with us to try our software. It's free. And our services are free, and the implementation's free. So we want to get it out there, because as I said, we're a new company, get more people using it and more people contributing to it. So it's a pretty good deal, because it can get some work done for you, and it's free. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you want to?
Yeah, do you want questions? And I'll run around and this out. It's recorded through the output. Okay. Get it in there.
Yeah, I've got a question. You mentioned obviously that there's a whole raft of monitoring and DevOps tools out there. Is your hope that the community will write the plugins that you haven't written right now? I mean, I don't know, where are the big holes? I don't expect you to fess up to them right now, but there obviously will be some, and is the community going to fill that in?
Yeah. So the question, I guess it's not a really big room, but the question for those in the way back was whether or not we're looking to the community to build plugins for some of the solutions. Absolutely. I mean, I think there's going to be a combination, and we're really going to see what our customers need. As we have customers more and more demanding different things, we'll build it. Our dev team really is looking for that direction, right, on our community site. So I think there's going to be a combination of we build it, there's a customer who needs it, so we build it, or there's someone who's using it for free who wants it, and they're like, I'm just going to write this myself, and then we can provide guidance and help them as part of the community.
Anyone else? Any questions? Cool. All right, thanks.
Great. Thanks very much.
No worries. Thanks for everyone for coming. Obviously, I'm always looking for speakers and sponsors and hosts and so on. So if anyone's interested, then please do get in touch. You can speak to me after tonight, or get in touch through the Meetup page. But other than that, thank you very much to Shopkeep as well, and Daniel for hosting the event. And yeah, thank you. Hope to see you again. Cheers.